Not in a war, not in a natural disaster, not from a disease. They drank poison, willingly, and the ones who hesitated were forced. Parents poured it into their children's mouths first. This wasn't a horror movie. This was November 18th, 1978, Jonestown, Guyana. And the most disturbing part, every single person who died that day was completely normal. Just like you, just like me. So the real question isn't what happened. The real question is, how does a normal person reach that point? This is unusual cases. James Warren Jones was born in 1931 in Indiana. He wasn't born powerful. He wasn't born wealthy. He was born to a struggling family in a dying town. But from childhood, Jim Jones had one extraordinary gift. He could make people believe him. As a teenager, he preached on street corners. Not because anyone asked him to, because he needed an audience. Psychologists who studied him later identified something important. Jones had an obsessive need for control, for worship, for complete loyalty. But in the 1950s, nobody saw danger. They just saw a passionate young preacher who welcomed everyone. Black people, white people, the poor, the broken. At a time when America was deeply segregated, Jim Jones opened his doors to all of them. That wasn't kindness, that was strategy. He found the people society had already abandoned, the ones who desperately needed to belong somewhere, and he gave them a home. That's how it always starts. By the 1960s, Jones had built the People's Temple. It wasn't just a church, it was a community, a family, a movement. Members shared their money. They lived together. They ate together. They existed for the temple. And Jones? He performed miracles, or so people believed. He would call out sick members from the crowd, describe their illness in detail, and heal them on stage. What nobody knew was that Jones had spies in the congregation, people who gathered personal information about members beforehand. The miracle was a lie, but the feeling it created was real. When someone appears to know your deepest secrets, your brain doesn't think manipulation. Your brain thinks divine. This is a psychological phenomenon called the illusion of unique insight. When someone seems to understand you completely, trust becomes almost impossible to break. Jones understood this instinctively. He didn't just want followers. He wanted people who believed he could see inside them. And it worked. By the 1970s, the People's Temple had thousands of members. Politicians sought his endorsement. Newspapers praised his social work. Jim Jones was untouchable. But behind the doors of the People's Temple, something else was happening entirely. Members who questioned Jones were publicly humiliated, made to stand in front of the congregation while others shouted at them, hit them. Jones called it catharsis, a cleansing. Psychologists call it something else, systematic dehumanization. When you humiliate someone publicly, especially in front of people they love, you don't just punish them, you reshape their identity. They stop seeing themselves as individuals. They start seeing themselves as members. Their worth becomes tied entirely to the group's approval. Jones also controlled information completely. No outside news. No contact with family who'd left. Every outside voice was framed as an enemy. This is called thought-terminating cliches, a technique where any doubt is immediately labeled as weakness, betrayal, or the enemy's influence. Your own mind becomes the cage. By the time Jones moved his followers to Jonestown, a compound he built in the jungle of Guyana, most members had no money left, no family ties, no life outside the temple. They had nothing, except Jim Jones. On November 17, 1978, a U.S. congressman named Leo Ryan flew to Jonestown to investigate reports of abuse. Some members tried to leave with him. Jones couldn't allow that. Ryan and 4 others were murdered at the airstrip before their plane could take off. Jones knew it was over. He gathered his entire congregation, over 900 people, and told them it was time for what he called revolutionary suicide. A vat of grape-flavored drink was laced with cyanide, sedatives and tranquilizers. Jones told them death was not the end, that they were making a revolutionary statement, that they would meet again. Parents gave it to their children first. 918 people died within 45 minutes. Jones himself died from a single gunshot to the head. Even at the very end, Jim Jones chose differently for himself than he did for everyone else. Jonestown wasn't a story about stupid people. It was a story about 3 psychological weapons that work on almost anyone. 1. Love bombing. Overwhelming someone with belonging, warmth, and community before slowly tightening control. 2. Information isolation. Cut someone off from outside voices long enough, and the group's reality becomes the only reality. 3. Gradual commitment. Nobody joins a cult knowing it's a cult. Each step is small. Each sacrifice is reasonable. Until one day, the unthinkable feels normal. These tactics aren't unique to Jonestown. They exist in relationships, in workplaces, in movements happening right now. The only protection is knowing they exist. Because manipulation doesn't announce itself. It arrives looking exactly like what you needed most.